Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Cosplay as a Community. I am Jay Torres, your host. It is wonderful to see you guys all back again for another episode. Today, we have two cosplayers who are extremely talented. I'm so happy that they're here. So, let me go ahead and introduce them to you. So, Kieshar is a Texas based award winning cosplayer. They started cosplaying in 2007 as Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist and Unknown Riku from Kingdom Hearts. They absolutely fell in love with everything about it, from creation to wearing costumes to everybody's reactions when they wear their costumes. They have a background professionally in fine arts painting and illustration. They heavily compete in craftsmanship, and they recently won Best in Show at Anime Frontier 2024 with 3 Cloud Strife dresses from the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which, let me tell you, I saw those in person. They are absolutely amazing. They specialize in texture, sculpting, painting effects, color, and sewing. And then we have our second guest. Digital Lavender, aka Tabs, has been cosplaying for over 10 years, starting with Pokemon Gijinka, I think I pronounced that right, and evolving into gender-bending fan favorites like Johnny Silverhand. She specializes in sewing, wig styling, bringing 90s icons like Botan from Yu Yu Hakusho and Ranma Satome from Ranma One Half back to life, and is known for her many creative takes on Princess Daisy. So, Kieshar, Tabs! Welcome to the show! Hello. It's so wonderful to have you guys. And you guys are the first guests in cosplay, by the way.
Hey,
so
go us.
you guys look absolutely amazing. So thank you guys so much for doing this. So let us just get started with the questions. So you guys are, like I said at the beginning, you guys are really big crafters. You guys are what I would consider have been doing this for a really long time, like expert level crafter. So when you guys get started on a new costume or on a new cosplay, where do you even start? Like, where does the idea come from when it comes to like making a new build?
Right, so depends on what I'm obsessing over at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, say it's like, an anime. I'm just like, oh, I really love this anime. I want to, want cosplay in it. And then I start looking at the characters. Um, Pick a character that either like I really like sync up with, or it's just or if it's like a character is like, oh, I just really like the look of, and it represents my love for the series. And then from there, I just kind of start breaking it down, like realistically, okay, what's it gonna take to make this cosplay? What materials am I gonna have to use, or if it's even like in my skill set? So starts with like obsession, and then I just kind of work my way down, bring myself down back to earth a little bit, and see, okay, can I actually pull this off? I just have a long list.
Yeah, it's similar for me as well. It definitely starts out with obsession. I'll see something, usually like a video game that I play that I'm just like, or an anime or whatever, and it definitely starts with an intense love for the character, and from there, I'll basically start figuring out, go down the rabbit hole of researching as much as I possibly can, all the different angles, different views, just whatnot, and see if I can actually, if I can do it. And most of the time, that's never an issue. I never even think about that part. And I really think it's just audacity that comes with just being a cosplayer. That's not even part of the equation.
Yep.
You're just going to make it happen. However, I mean, and even if you don't know the skill, you're going to go out and learn it. You're like, well, I've never done that before. Let's just, I don't know, let's pour resin for the first time. And you start just putting everything together to do it. But so starts from getting to references, and then it gets into sourcing, like, how am I going to put this together? It's almost like engineering in a way, where you're thinking about bits and pieces that will make a whole. And then it gets into materials. Where can you get it? If I can't find a very specific material, how do I make that to look like that material? I do a lot of that. And then the other thing sometimes that will actually make me look at a character is, when you're sourcing materials for a lot of these cosplays, at least for me, I have a lot of fabrics that are left over. And so instead of, I don't ever like to throw things away, but I also don't like to keep things. I'll look at it and I'm like, okay, What can I make with that? I have a lot of that. I need to make something with that. And sometimes that will spark a cosplay project.
That's interesting. I like that a lot actually. I like having you taking like a fabric that you have or taking something that you already like that exists already and then making the
Mm-hmm.
cosplay out of that rather than like coming up with the idea like pre-hand too. Like that is always that's just so cool. It is like I think it just shows like how like you can like picture it in your head like and all of that stuff. So that's really cool. So if you want to explain for anybody who may not know what like what how much work like goes into like making something like
Oh.
truly like from scratch, like not like even not from scratch, because I know like even like with some of my costumes, even like I would buy the costume and then I'd still have to do like 4 hours or 5 hours of work like on a wig. So how much work does that actually take?
So cosplay is truly definition of jack of all trades, master of none. Um, like especially the more elaborate like a cosplay is, that the more skill sets that are going to go into that.
Mm-hmm.
So like sewing, foam smithing, 3D modeling, 3D printing, wig styling, like so much goes can go into like a single cosplay.
Yeah.
So when I start going into the process of actually making the cosplay, I used to when I first started, I would go thrifting first and change it from there, add, subtract, whatever. But now that I've been getting into competition, it's kind of changed the way I do things. So now it's broken up into, is this for fun or is this for competition? And that changes everything for me. So if it's just for funsies, then the way I would make what would go into it would be, and I agree absolutely, it gets into all these skills that maybe you've learned from a previous cosplay, but it's definitely, and I really think this is a certain personality type that comes with cosplayers, but you have no problem learning new skills to build these cosplays. But with funsies, you're not as worried about being so technically correct. So something that you get into skills, you get into materials, you don't worry about how you would put it together. So let's say I probably would use hot glue more than I would the sewing machine if it's just for funsies, or definitely Velcro or snaps or whatever. Um, so it's easier to put those together. But when it comes into competition pieces, that's different. That's a whole different ball game. Like you get into like, so for instance, um, one that I'm currently working on, which originally I was going to try to do this year, but it's actually going to be next year because it is so very complicated. It's an illustrator's version of Howl's Moving Castle, and it's actually Howl, but it's a Japanese rendition of it. And there was something that was happening with the Hakama, and I couldn't source the fabric. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where if I can't find it, I'll make it. So for the fabric itself, it had this crisscross pattern, and the fabric, I did find a silk version, but it was silk and it was like $80 a yard, and I needed like seven of it. And I was like, I can't do that. But so I got into finding a material that had some sort of structure, not structure, excuse me, had like some sort of pattern going, a vertical pattern. And then I used heat transfer vinyl to go across and make like shooting stars to get that crisscross pattern. And then at one point, this is where it starts getting into detail and starts getting a little bit crazier because it is a competition piece. I actually reenacted the scene that happens towards the end of the movie where you see Hal holding Calcifer as he's coming down as a shooting star. And you see all those little shooting star guys like dropping in the water and kind of like, ay, but I had that on the actual Hakama. And so just the difference between the two, it really just depends on what you want it for. Funsies, it's easy, it's fun, you don't think about it, and you just put things together. It's almost like, in a way, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, and it's fine. But with a competition piece, that just takes more to it.
Yeah. So I guess then my like next question would be, um, because you two have been cosplaying for so long, do you think that the competition like aspect of cosplay has changed the way like people look at it and the way that people like focus on it and the way that they like take more attention to detail in some aspects or like less detail like in others.
I've noticed a difference. If it's an attendee, like a regular attendee, like so for instance, I have a Pokemon kimono that I put together, and it was just half thrown on. And when I was walking through the convention, everybody was really excited and was interacting with me and just having a great time. But the moment that I made it geared towards competition, people's reactions was very different. They kind of backed away. It was almost like I still can't understand the reaction, to be honest. I don't know if it's just because they feel like you're uh, exalted. I don't know, like pedestalized, like you look too good.
Interesting.
I don't I don't know. And the other thing that I've noticed is like if it is a competition piece, that some people think that you actually bought it, which I mean is a compliment, but they're not as excited about it as opposed to funsies. That are not as focused on being so perfect or so detailed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting. And then, when you have, fellow cosplayers that are actual competitors as well, that's different. Their reaction is, oh, let's get into the minutia of what's going on here. I mean, it's really kind of a yapping kind of situation where we're just like, oh, tell me how you did this. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. But I don't know. What about you, Tabs?
You definitely have more expertise than I do, since I just got back into the competition scene last year, in December. Um,
Yay!
Yeah.
and I do agree. It is, on the floor. I've noticed people will get like a lot closer and like look at like details like on the con floor. I'm just like, okay. Um, but then like when it's like actual people who are very like involved in the craft and stuff, it is just so exciting to just talk shop and just
Hmm.
exchanging techniques and like admiring like everybody else's work. Be like, oh my gosh, I love the way you like had it, like you did that trim. Oh my gosh, I love your wig. Like it's just good vibes all the time versus like
Yeah.
on the floor when people kind of outside the hobby, like in like the like nerd like space, but like outside the hobby. And I also want to kind of credit to like social media too,
Hmm.
for like the biggest like change in kind of like
Agreed.
the critiques that people will like try to give and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
because it definitely put cosplay on a bigger like platform. It's not this like niche hobby anymore. It's a
Hmm.
very, TikTok, big example. It is a very worldwide, like very popular thing now. And so that brings more eyes like onto it, be like, oh, your scar's on the wrong side, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
the
Have you,
amount of the
have
amount of
you
comments,
really?
a little sidetrack, but the amount of comments I get on when I do cosplay Johnny Silverhand, his metal arm is on his left arm. It is on my left arm. I get so many comments being like, oh, but the wrong arm's on the wrong side. Like, first of all, no, it's not. Please learn how a camera works. Also, I did not ask for critique. So even if it
Yeah.
was like on my right arm, why does
Do,
that matter?
do you think it might be this? Because this happened when I used to sell in the artist alley, and I had a lot of people that would come up to the table, and it took me a while to figure what was going on. But people would same thing, give critiques like that, and
Hmm.
you're like, what? Why do you even care? And it's more of they're so awkward or feel so they don't know they want to talk to you, but they don't know how to engage you. So the only thing they think of, and they don't realize how incredibly rude it is, but they'll critique what you're working on, and then they're like, okay, great, we interacted, that's awesome, and they walk off, and you're like, what was that?
I I think that a lot of it too, and this is just coming from like my personal background in media studies, is that and we talked about this on episode one actually with Kenny, with her background and her thing with cosplay when she first started like getting into it was the idea of, well, how am I going to portray this character in a way that makes it still true to the character, but it is also my own. And so when
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about like TikTok and all of these things, a lot of people from outside of the community don't see it like through a lens like we do. So
Hmm.
they see it in a lens of, oh, you have to look exactly like this character, you have to look exactly like this person,
Yeah.
when in reality, like, that is not the message that is trying, what that cosplayers are trying to get across.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
do you feel that, even though, do you feel like this message of you don't have to exactly look like the person that, you don't exactly have to look like the character that you're cosplaying, has come across like from y'all's interactions, or is it still an issue?
I'll say this. It's interesting you brought this up because it makes me think about it this way. I wonder if, obviously, body shaming is huge. And also, if your race color is different than, than the character, which is crazy because they're all Japanese, but whatever. Um, I guess when I first started cosplaying, and this is pre-pandemic, almost like a decade and a half before all that, there weren't that many cosplayers. So the idea of being, you couldn't be true to the character, so it never really came up, to be honest. And then you had social media, and it was starting to build. And then I think when the pandemic hit, from what I noticed, three-fourths of the OGs were gone. Not a bad thing, but now you have new people that are coming into this space, cosplay or attendees that are in a space of cosplayers. Um, they're learning, uh, they don't realize that you don't have to be this exact replica of a character. And, with social media, you can see more people that do get so damn close to these characters that they might as well be the physical, representation. I'm not coming up with the right word right now. My brain is just like, but I think social media kind of hampers, I don't know, it restricts that way the accepting of people just understanding that cosplay really is just for us to show our love for these characters and just, doesn't have to
Yeah.
be exact.
Yeah,
And
Tabs, you got anything on it?
I think people forget what cosplay actually stands for. It stands for costume play. It is not that serious.
Yes,
Like,
agreed.
and people, especially with like TikTok, social media, people are more just really wanting us to be like the real life, version of like their husbando, their waifu. And it's like that's not what's happening.
Hmm.
I am just dressing up um, as a character I enjoy, doing a craft that I love, and like that's all it is to it.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think social media has definitely played a part into what cosplay is perceived at from an outsider's perspective, and what is perceived at by people who've been doing it for so long. And I'm happy we brought it up too, because it is really important that we talk about these things. So I do want to do a little transition. So since starting cosplay for the both of you, I guess we can talk about social media within it as well. But when you started cosplaying, uh, did you know any skills like prior to cosplay that you know now, or have you always learned this? Have you always known like the skills of like sewing and wig styling or whatever? Were these things that you had to learn like as you went on?
Definitely learned as I went on. Um, so I so something that I started doing from a very young age is hand embroidery. It was something that like me and my like great aunt did. Like that was our thing, and that kind of transitioned into, oh, like I want to start making my own like plushes, and then that kind of was like my entry into sewing. And then it just kind of evolved from there. It's like, oh, I want to learn how to, make this. This is my idea. Like I want to like this is the design I want to like bring to life. I definitely did not start cosplaying that way. Like my very first cosplay back in 2015, it was my last day of my senior year of high school, and so in 2015, I went as a like gender bent, like Monokuma from Danganronpa, but it was just um, like some like bear paws and like the little like ears with like the half black, half like white little wig. Um, and like his like actual like little glasses that look like his eyes with like the black and like the red, and like a black skirt and like a white shirt. Like that was it. Um, and then that kind of got me into like the Pokemon Jujinkas because that gave me a lot more like freedom, and that I think that also really helped in developing my skills because I could do what like I had like a vision, but I could do what I know what was like possible for me and still like portray like that Pokemon like correctly. If that makes
Mhm.
Hmm.
sense.
Could you explain what a Gajinka is for anyone who
Okay.
doesn't know?
Um, so what a Gajinka is, it is a human version of like a creature character, basically. So like any like human like artwork you see of like Pokemon, that would be considered Gajinka. It's mostly a lot of Pokemon. But like same thing like Monokuma, like he's just this
Hmm.
little like robot like murderous bear. I mean, and then but turn that to like human form, then that would be like considered Gajinka.
I didn't know that had a professional term until today, so thank you.
Of course, I got you.
I learn something new every day, right?
Let's see, I've done four of the
Have you?
nine evolutions.
Oh
Yeah.
my
I've
gosh.
done Vaporeon, Jolteon, Umbreon, and Flareon. The goal is eventually do all nine, but that's a slow process. We'll get there.
I believe in you. I believe in you. I need to see this. I've seen it. I just didn't know. Okay, well, I've seen
Mhm,
people do it before.
mhm.
I didn't know how to professional term. But
I
thank
haven't done it in a
you.
very long time, but
My gosh. But how about you, Kshar?
Um, so same with my grandmother, I learned how to sew, just basic stuff. I was always a painter, so I knew how to do a lot of painting effects and whatnot. I used to work for a 3D design studio, but when I started cosplaying, most of it was already what I was doing for like Ren fairs, like Frankensteining, putting patterns together to make what I want. And then the sewing, nothing really changed, except basically when I started competing is when everything started changing. And I started learning a lot of skills for that. And that was more it's not like they tell you to do this or there's pressure to do this, but it was self-imposed pressure to become more like a seamstress and to start using a lot of other materials and even just traditional skills that you normally would never touch. But yeah, at the very beginning, I would say that there wasn't much that I brought to the table, and a lot of it was learned as I was making the cosplay. And again, during the time that I started cosplaying, there was nothing that you can buy on the market at all. You had to make your own. So if you wanted to dress up as somebody, you just made it work.
Yeah. I hear that a lot from like people been doing it so long. It's like you
Hmm.
had to go and go to Goodwill, and I've even heard from cosplayers now with like all of the tariffs and things and Joann's being closed.
Hmm.
It's so sad.
R.I.P.
Like R.I.P. Joann's. We
The
love you.
queen.
What queen? But
Going
with
back to old school.
right? And that's kind of my point is like I've heard from a lot of cosplayers that it's about time like we're gonna have to go back to old school because buying fabric is so much harder and
Oh God,
the
yes.
tools are just like not accessible. I've even seen like more people like doing like workshops
Hmm.
of like how to make cosplays more like how to like go to your thrift store and like how to make cosplay not expensive. So I've definitely like seen
Hmm.
it as like a trend like coming up.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. Uh, I was a guest for Delta H recently, and one of my panels, it was originally it was just more for me bringing it up because it's something that not a lot of people use anymore. But obviously with the tariffs and everything, this happened after I was putting the panel together. It was paper mache and getting into the things that you can do with paper mache because besides fabric being probably I mean, it's ratcheting up pretty quickly, especially fur fabric I found out recently. But
Yep.
foam is going to be very difficult to get. And then a lot of these thermoplastics like Warbler, I mean, holy crap. The stuff that I have was left over from years ago, so thank God. but it's, it's a consumable, so eventually it's going to be gone. And anyway, I remember the people that were in the panel, and I was talking about it and brought up that this stuff that you can get from the grocery store or in your kitchen to make this, paper mache, and they were like mind blown kind of stuff, and I was like, I'm so glad that I can help. But yeah, absolutely, it's definitely going to be getting into just as much as I hate is what's happening with the tariffs. I really think this is going to be we're going to see some exceptional stuff come out of cosplay because of it. Because I think people, when they are constricted or they are, I don't know, limited to certain things, that just the solutions the creative solutions that people are going to come up with to create all this stuff again is going to be out of this world. Honestly, is how I mean, I'm not advocating the terrorists. I think they suck, but yeah, I think in the next couple of years we're going to see some incredible pieces come out that people are going to put together because of it, because they're going to have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. So this is like a question for both of you. So because of like all of these restrictions and like constraints that people have to work in like through cosplay, what advice would you give to like a beginner who's just starting out in cosplay, doesn't know anything? Like how would what advice would you give to them to work like within these constraints, or what advice would you just give to them in general?
So, as somebody who is like just starting out, has no experience, like crafting experience, doing anything whatsoever, start simple. Um, Break down, really examine the character you want to cosplay and
Hmm.
break down those pieces individually. So, like, look at the jacket, the shirt, like what your wig is going to be, like what kind of pants are they wearing? Is there like a certain type of shoe that you're going to need? Just really and really not, I say this for like, beginners, experts, just just break like really examine and break everything down, and that will make things so much easier.
Yeah, I would also, I absolutely agree with that, and I would also say that learn to see shapes and things. Um, instead of buying exactly what you need, to be able to see the potential of things that are already out there. Definitely thrifting, um, but also going to a dollar store or even a reuse place. There's a lot of them around, and not just thrift stores, but other places that recycle supplies or whatnot. That within these shapes that you're looking at, you're like, okay, for instance, I need to make a tail that has structure. Well, I can't get wire right now for, let's say, hypothetically, for whatever reason. I'm at Daiso for whatever reason, and I see this plastic bat. I might as well. I bet I could cut into that plastic bat, making strips, heat it out, and use that as structure for the tail. I mean, just being able to just start looking at things differently than just for its initial primary use uh, can help somebody as a beginner go a long ways. That and hot glue. Hot glue will be your
Yes.
Yeah.
best friend.
Oh gosh, the amount of times
Love
that
it.
hot glue has saved my life in a con crunch,
Mhm.
I could tell you. Well, we're almost out of time, so I do have just one more question for both of you.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a question that I just end off pretty much every single one of the episodes with. But how has cosplay shaped you as a person?
Okay, sure, I'll let you go first.
Okay, yeah. Two things happened. I was a massive introvert, and I still kind of am. But anyway, when I started cosplaying, for some reason, it allowed me to not to be able to open up and talk to people without feeling like I need to pull back. And I would say now that I'm the exact opposite. I love people. I will talk to anybody and everybody for hours. But the other thing that was happening with that, I will say that cosplay also allowed me to unmask. Um, Even though I'm playing a character that's not me, obviously, or dressing up as a character that completely different situations, different storyline, whatever, for some reason it still allows me to feel like I'm truly not having to pretend to be someone that I would as a daily, I guess, at a job or a daily situation that I'm in that's not a convention, whatever. So, yeah, it allows me to be
Uh,
something better.
yeah, very similar for me too. Cosplay started as like an escape from just being myself. And it later kind of evolved into just like a love of like the art form.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a very big introvert. But if you get me in a space with other nerds, other, like cosplayers, like craftsmen, like you would never even guess. So it really truly is like my passion, and I put my all into it. And it really kind of lets me be like that, like very, happy-go-lucky self that like I do try to be all the time. It also, depending on like the character I'm cosplaying too, can kind of like affect not my confidence, but like how I like present myself. So like two examples, Botan, she's very, happy and bubbly, and I feel like I'm a bit more bubbly and like talkative when I'm, when I'm in Botan. And then but like with Johnny Silverhand, no, he's this, super tatted, like just this tough dude, and not punk rocker boy who does not care about anything. I feel a bit more badass, like I'm not gonna lie. Um, like I am wearing those platform combat boots and I am strutting down like the
You
convention halls
do.
like I am.
You do. You absolutely do.
Like I am fully like I am scary dog privilege and I love it.
Oh
It's
my
it's
gosh.
fabulous.
No, I definitely agree. I definitely can like understand that. I remember the first time I put on Bruno Bucciarati from JoJo, which if y'all don't know who he is,
Oh,
he's
I love
like
him.
a mafia boss. Like
Yes.
he is like the most badass. Like he's so good. Anyway, I never would have thought in my life I would have cosplayed him, and yet like every time I put that on, I'm like, oh my gosh, like wait a minute, and it was so good. Like it was so crazy that my mom will be listening to this, I'm sure, and she was like, "Oh Jade, like you look so good in that bob, like you should just get one." I'm like, okay, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not gonna get the bob just yet, like, but like just the amount of confidence that I feel like in that outfit. It's just like so it just orates. So I get like what y'all are saying, and I'm really glad that cosplay did that for y'all and does that for y'all because honestly,
Thank you.
having confidence in yourself is the best thing I think anyone can
Mhm.
ask for.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but with that, that is our last question today. So thank you everybody for listening. If you guys want to
Yeah.
follow them, I'm gonna let them say their socials right now. So Tabs and then Kshar, where can they follow you?
All right, so I'm on TikTok and Instagram. On Instagram, it's just digital lavender. On TikTok, I believe is digital X lavender. But I post a lot on both of those, so check me out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm generally on Instagram, and my handle is Kieshar with EME after it, because Kieshar was already taken. And then from there, in the links, I have other locations. Like there's a website that I have that has other things on it. But yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank
That
you.
is a wrap for this
Thank you.
episode. Remember, you can watch every single episode on Spotify, and you can find every single episode on our YouTube channel as well. All links to the website and to all of those channels are on my cosplay Instagram at Zebra Cosplay. Thank you guys so much for tuning
Oh
in,
my
and
gosh.
remember,
Thank you.
cosplay is a community, so make it one. Goodbye, guys.